Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking here. I felt like I should start this video off with a little bit of a PSA for Rage Shadow Legends. No, I'm not doing that. No, this is an actual PSA that'll be useful in your life. If you happen to like cooking like I do, and you happen to be finding yourself chopping vegetables quite often, which is also something I do, be careful with the knife. Like, I've been doing this for about a year or so now. I've been really into cooking, and this is the first major cut I've ever gotten, but hey, I take good care of my knives, okay? It's sliced through my skin like butter, which is fantastic for the knife. I'm like, wow, okay, this is a pretty damn good knife. But, yeah, there's a lot of blood coming out now, and we should probably go get that taken care of. So first time I've ever had to go to a doctor for a laceration, and he glued that shut, so it should be good. It's kind of sore right now, but it's alright. Just be careful, kids. I like to show you pictures, but there was copious amounts of blood, and I don't think, YouTube would approve of that. Just be careful, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Kaido. Now, we've talked a lot about Kaido before. I have Big Mom's poster up back here, so you might be curious how that ties back in. Well, we all know Kaido and Big Mom had a relationship, something that happened a long time ago. They were, of course, on Rox's crew, but there seems to be something more to it than that. There's a lifelong debt that apparently Kaido is in to Big Mom. So, okay, that came out wrong, but you know what I mean, okay? And you saw the last episode of the anime, right? I mean, that back child support, Big Mom's coming to collect it. Full force, boys and girls. Alright, but, yeah, we'll be getting back to Big Mom in a little bit. But no, last year I made a video titled, What is Kaido? And we're trying to figure out exactly the nature of Kaido. Like, was he born a regular human? Was he, like, ancient giant? Is he more dragon or duck or oni? He's got to be one of the three, right? So that was last year, though, talking about the nature of himself and his devil fruit power. Today, because of the most recent chapter of One Piece, and because we got to see his interaction with Oden at his execution, I thought it would be pertinent to discuss not exactly what is Kaido, but who is Kaido. This magnificent mountain of a man. There's deep things inside of him that we just don't understand, guys. Like, how does he sleep at night? On his back or on his side? Does he crush his ice? What's his favorite color? Boxers or briefs? These are the questions that people want to know. Because, it's so easy just to look at Kaido and just say to yourself, he's like, I'm a big muscular guy that beats the shit out of people. Bam, bam, bam. And I can turn into a giant dragon. That's my whole character right there. But you start to think, like, all right, you know what? That kind of character has its own merits. This is a shonen manga after all, so we're always kind of waiting for that kind of, like, huge, ridiculously OP, broken character to show up that just, boom, one-shots them MC and just drops him and, he's bleeding out on the ground. Luffy's there like, okay, all right, yeah, Kaido should not be messed with. There's some merits in that, but also some character development would not hurt, okay? And up until this point, the best kind of character development we really had from Kaido was he likes to drink a lot. That was kind of what we got. He's always drinking, and he has his little stages of drunkenness. Like, Dofi, why'd you have to get captured? Glug, glug, glug. Who's gonna buy all my meals now? And then he switches into like, damn Lon Luffy, I'm gonna smack him next time I see him. I want to see more kinds of drunk Kaido, though. We got angry Kaido drunk, and we got sad Kaido drunk. I want to see, like, I don't know, I want to see mysterious Kaido drunk. Like, glug, 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 I am mysterious, ooh. I want to see more emotions expressed through Kaido in his drunk nature. But, that's more of, like, a quirky thing that we get. When I say character development, I want to see, like, more of, like, personality. Like, goals, ambitions, what drives him. A little bit more look into his personality. What led him to become the kind of guy that we see right now in the story. Now, we just got done with a huge flashback involving Oden that pretty much, I think, filled our flashback quota for the rest of Wano, okay? People are hungry. People want to see the epic battle. People want us to go back to the present. We want to see what's going on with the Scabbards and the Straw Hats and Law, whatever he's up to, and all the other major characters of Wano. We want to see Zoro bust out Enmo. We want to see all this crap, and we want to see them fight against the Beast Pirates right here and now, okay? So, Pretty sure Oda's gonna go back to that. I'm not saying we need to have a whole involved backstory involving Kaido. Hey, look at Big Mom's backstory. Big Mom is a flippin' Yonko, or I was gonna say a fleeking Yonko. All right, well, okay. I don't even really know what that word means. I don't know if it's applicable here, but we'll roll with it. But she only had like a 2-chapter flashback. It was like 2.5, something like that, with Mother Caramel. Like, Oda didn't go into too much crazy detail. It's not like we got like a 10-chapter backstory like we got with Oden. Oden's was longer than 10 chapters. So maybe we could get a little bit with Kaido, but maybe there's like less to say. I think like the crucial moments would be like, okay, what is his lineage like? Was he part ancient giant or something? What were the circumstances around his birth? That might be something that might be interesting to know. I have the same question around Big Mom as well, and we didn't really get to see that. It's just like, Big Mom, I guess, was born to regular parents, and, they couldn't handle her, so they just Operation Beached Whale, ladies and gentlemen. They just toss her on Elbaf. So we don't need to go into too great detail like that. But, how did he become an apprentice pirate on Rox's crew? Let's just start with that as like a baseline. Keep in mind, an apprentice pirate, we don't really know exactly what the whole age range for that is, but we know like Buggy and Shanks were picked up by Roger. We know as far back when they were 9 years old each, they were already members of Roger's crews. So 9 years old is considered an apprentice. Even up until when they were like 13, 14, they were still considered apprentice pirates. Marco was like 15 when he joined up against with the Whitebeard crew, and he was considered an apprentice, as well as Jozu, who was like 12. So going along with that logic, for Kaido to be an apprentice pirate on Rox's crew, probably somewhere between the ages of 10 and 15. Now, all we have is this silhouette here, and Kaido does look like a pretty big guy, but keep in mind, Kaido, he's built kind of like a brick shithouse, okay? So, if you're gonna say, like, this is Kaido at age 10, and he's already like, gadoosh! I could buy that, especially if we figure out, like, oh no, yeah, he has ancient giant blood in him. Okay, that makes sense that he would be that big at that young age, okay? But still, he might be ridiculously strong, but still very much inexperienced in terms of pirating and fighting and exactly how to use hockey and stuff like that. Like, that stuff he learned about on Rox's crew. So in the last chapter, after Oden finishes his trial in the boiling oil, and Orochi is just like, well, that's well and good, Oden, but too bad, execution's still on. I've decided to change it to firing squad at the last minute. No real particular reason, just decided to go with that. So Oden was gonna die no matter what, and up until this point, Kaido and Orochi seemed like in league together. Like, they were both the same kind of scummy, so to speak, where it was like, Orochi took over Wano, ruled it with an iron fist. He wasn't even interested in ruling it that way. It's just like, I'm trying to run this country into the ground, so that's a pretty nefarious plot. Kaido gets involved, of course, and he goes along with Orochi, and they see them, like, hanging out, like, drinking sake together. Later on, during the present storyline, when Orochi was televising the death of Yasuie, Kaido's there drinking, and he's like, well, dang it, that Orochi, man, he is the worst human being out there, isn't he? But the way Kaido said it, he was kind of, like, endearing, like, it's like, oh, that Orochi, man, that's a real piece of garbage right there. Glug, glug, glug. That's the kind of idea. So it's like Kaido and Orochi seem to get along in that regard, so it's very easy to say, like, Kaido is every bit as, just duplicitous and scummy as Orochi was. Okay, fine. But then we get to the actual execution with Oden. So after Oden survives the oil, Orochi is kind of taken aback by that and just shock, but then he's immediately like, I don't care, your whole family's gonna die now. Whereas Kaido was more reserved, and he was more of like, kind of paying Oden a compliment or two, really. He was like, Kaido picks up his gun. It sort of looked like a shotgun to me. It had like 2 barrels. But he picks that up, and he starts loading it, and he's just looking at Oden, and Oden's not even moving because he knows what's going to happen, and he's no point in leaving. He just hopes his scabbards get away. And Kaido's like, they'll be talking about what you did here, this hour of legends, so to speak. They'll be talking about this for the rest of time, from what you did. You still have to die. Orochi has decreed you have to die. And I think Kaido understood, like, yeah, he has to die or he'll be a major threat later. But I felt like a little bit of regret in Kaido. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe a little bit of just kind of like, maybe Kaido's processes was, I didn't defeat Oden in a fair fight. And now he's shown how strong and resilient and adamant he is by, resisting this oil execution. And now, though, I'm never going to have another chance to fight him because Orochi has decreed his death. And in order for Wano to maintain the level we're having right now, like we're setting up all the weapon factories and all the stuff we're doing with the underworld and all that crap, he has to die right here. And Kaido realizes, all right, I'm the one that'll do it, but I'm not happy about it, kinda, you know? Like, if nothing else, I'm not saying, like, Kaido had, like, sympathy for Oden in the sense of, like, Oden, you're a great guy, you deserve to live, come on, hop out of the oil, come on, Orochi, give him a second chance. Nothing like that. I think if anything else, maybe Kaido just wanted to have a rematch with Oden, wanted to fight him again on fairer terms, or to really test his mettle, you know? And he's never going to have that, and he realizes that. So Kaido's like, you know, they'll be talking about this for a while. The last words Kaido really says to Oden are, you know, don't worry, I'm sorry about that old hag. I'm sorry about that old hag interfering with our fight, transforming into your son, and so distracting you. That was not cool. That's not the way I wanted that to go down. Of course, Kaido doesn't say all of that, but that's the way I interpreted it. Maybe you interpreted it a different way. But Kaido's like, yeah, sorry about that old hag. She's dead. I took care of that. You know, I already took care of her. So it was just like, yeah, Kaido was not happy with the way he won that fight. But that's the situation as it stands. And the last thing Oden says to Kaido before, you know, he takes out the gun is, you know, just make sure to build yourself up, Kaido. Make sure to get as strong as you can. And then he's like, you know, my name is Oden and I was born to boil! Yeah. So that was cool. Now, here's something. We know Kaido makes a habit of trying to end his own existence. Like, that's like one of his hobbies. That's actually how we got introduced to the character. Oda was probably sitting around like, how do we properly introduce Kaido into this story? Have him jump off a sky island and just have a minor headache. That's a good way to handle it. But could Kaido handle a sliced finger from cutting onions? That's the real test of any anime character's mettle right there. But no, it's like, perhaps maybe it's not necessarily him just trying to end his own existence, just for the sake of that. Maybe it's because he took Oden's last words to him to heart. And he's like, Kaido, make sure you build up your strength, and you better get ready, because it's coming. My retribution, your day of reckoning, and Orochi's day of reckoning, it'll be coming. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might not be for another 20 years. But you better prepare yourself. You better get ready. That was the message I got from Oden. And maybe Kaido really took that to heart. And he started to train more than he's ever had before. And a way to test his strength and to test his endurance is all these ridiculous ways he tried to, I have to be very careful with the way I interpret this in YouTube. Because one way I said it in a certain way in a video once, and that video ended up getting demonetized. So I have to be very careful how I explain this. But ending his existence, the destroyer of his own life functions, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's not just because it's a hobby. It is a hobby, but it's more of a hobby of just like, I want to see how tough I am. You know, I'll show Oden. You know, I'm going to be the strongest guy out there. You know, Kaido was already strong. Like, that's not even debatable. He was a member of Rox's crew. He became a Yonko. He's a dragon. He's already a strong SOB. We already know that much, right? But he's like, no, from this point onward, he's going to really test his mettle, breaking the limits, and he got even stronger from that day onward. Also, something you might want to figure is that, you know, Kaido, we haven't really seen him. I mean, like, the closest to, like, looking up to somebody as, like a figure, like a hero, haven't really gotten that from Kaido. The most that we really got there was kind of in that moment with Oden, but even then, that was it didn't look like he was looking up to Oden like, you're my hero, Oden. It was just like, you know, it was more of like, you know, we could have been, you know, battle buddies. We could have been good rivals, but this is the way it's going down. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. But if there's probably anybody out there that Kaido really truly respected, it would probably have been Rox. You could maybe throw Whitebeard into that mix as well, because Whitebeard was his senior on the crew. You can see he really doesn't respect Big Mom in that way. Maybe Shiki, maybe Captain John, maybe Silver Axe, maybe Wang Zhi. But most definitely Rox, because Rox is, you know, his captain during his formative years. When Kaido was young and he was raised, he probably learned pretty much everything about being a pirate from Rox directly. Just kind of like how Marco was the apprentice and kind of always palled around with Whitebeard. Shanks and Buggy were the apprentices and they always palled around Roger as sort of like their fatherly figure, or at least like their big brotherly character to kind of like learn from. You know, probably Rocks was that with Kaido. So I could imagine like Kaido looks up to Rocks, and maybe Oden reminds him a little bit of that. You know, it's like that's like embodies the kind of man that I looked up to, because everybody has a hero figure. Everybody has people that they look up to, right? Kaido probably does have that as well. Big Mom had Mother Caramel, right? Whitebeard, well, Whitebeard might have had Rocks as well. See, we don't really know much about the character of Rocks. I want to say like he's this diabolically just pure evil bastard, but we just really don't know. But he probably was, at least to an extent. That was an accurate statement. But yeah, like Big Mom had Mother Caramel, Kaido might have had Rocks, Blackbeard also had Rocks. Maybe it just all ties back to Rocks in that regard. Luffy, of course, had Roger. Shanks and Buggy had Roger. So yeah, that's the situation there with like who he really is. Now, I would like this to be something that we stay with in the story. I would like to build on Kaido's character a little bit more. Because just as it is right now, I mean, Kaido is interesting in his own ways, but just as he is right now, if we didn't get any more information about who Kaido is as a person or a character development, if it's just we go into the battle and boom, here's Luffy and Kid and Law and Zoro and all the Straw Hats and the Samurai, and they team up and they go fight against Kaido, and it's just this epic final battle, and there's swords flying, and there's Boro breaths, and there's scales getting ripped off, and there's hockey after hockey, and there's so many combination attacks it makes your head spin, and then finally, boom! Kaido drops and he is finally defeated. And, you know, we don't learn anything more about him. It's just like he's nothing more than just the final boss, the big, giant, evil, powerful man that we've slain. We've slain the dragon! Alright, we're good. I would feel maybe a little bit empty about that, because that really does delegate Kaido more to just, like I said, like, oh, he's the final bad boss that you have to fight. Don't worry about him too much. He's dead now. Everything's cool. Everything's copacetic. You've slayed the final boss. We're good. I want to learn a little bit more about him. You don't have to go into full detail. We don't have to have a full backstory. We don't have to have, like, this was the tragic backstory of Kaido. He was born abandoned in the middle of an active volcano. The volcano then erupted, and he collapsed on the ground, absorbed its mighty primal lava magma powers, and he became the man that we know today. You know, like, we don't have to go into too much detail about how sad or awesome his backstory is, but maybe just a little bit more detail. I think a character like Kaido is better suited in, like, those subtle things. Like, don't drop a bunch of exposition on us at once. Like, we didn't get that. Like, in the last chapter, we just had, like, Kaido and Oden exchanging some lines, but just from that minimal dialogue, we learned a lot about Kaido's personality. I think that's best suited there. Like, let's say, here's an example for you. Like, Zoro goes to fight against Kaido. Zoro takes out Enma. Kaido sees that it's Oden's sword that, you know, Zoro is using. And maybe we have a moment with Kaido where he just smirks a little bit. He's like, And he doesn't even need to say anything, but just, like, he smirks at seeing Enma. And maybe we get, like, a line, like, a brief line of, like, internal dialogue from Kaido that's like, Oden, you've returned. Or it's like, maybe I'll have another chance, Oden. Or something like that, just to kind of give us, like, Kaido is happy that he gets to fight against, you know, Oden's, like, swords again. He gets to take on Enma and maybe Ame no Habakiri, if that shows up at some point. He gets to see that again, and he's kind of happy from that moment. We also got some character development when he, you know, allied with Big Mom, how he was clashing with her, and then he's like, actually, you know what? We're gonna hang out together, just like old times. But then again, that might have just maybe been because Kaido was drinking a lot in that one particular instance there. But even that scene didn't last very long. It was like a couple of panels of Kaido like, we're allies now, and then that was it. You know, that might just tie back more to like his wildly changing moods because he drinks so much. Like, one minute he's drinking and he's like, don't let that old bag into the country, and the next minute he's like, you know what, we're gonna hang out a little bit here. You know, that might be because more of his drinking. But that conversation that Oden had with him in the last chapter, that didn't seem like a byproduct of his drinking or his mood swings at all. That seemed more genuine to me, right? So, what do you think about Kaido as a person? How do you think we're going to find out more about him in the future? What would you like to learn about him? You know, like if there's any little piece of information regarding Kaido's personality or his emotion or his goals or ambitions. Like, is his goal just, you know, like, maybe he took, you know, what Oden said and he's just like, I'm going to be the strongest guy that ever existed. And in order to prove that, I have to get the rope poneglyphs, and I have to find the One Piece, and I have to dethrone Roger as the king of the pirates. Only then will I truly, honor Oden's legacy, or I'll prove Oden that I am the strongest. Something of that nature, right? But yeah, I think we need to learn at least like the few of the connections that Kaido had in his developmental years. Rocks, Whitebeard, what's his relationship with those guys? A little bit more. I mean, what Big Mom's already been touched upon a little bit, but there's still a lot of gaps in that story we need to know. As for Shanks and Blackbeard, probably not too many connections with them outside of Shanks stopping Kaido when he went to the war. So there's something you can work with there. Kaido's connection with Blackbeard. Other than Blackbeard having connections to rocks and Kaido being, raised by rocks, other than that, maybe not much else to go on there. But, yeah, I'd like to expand a little bit more on Kaido is basically what it comes down to. All right, well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be careful when cutting onions. What do you have to say, Barry? Yup. All right. Well, okay, you done? Okay, good. Have a great night, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out.